Hello everyone, my name is Likith and I'm currently an MBA candidate at IM Trichy in the PGP 1921 program. Today I'm going to talk about renewable energy and its sources and the impact it could have on the Indian economy by adopting it. Renewable energy can be defined as energy that is produced from sources like wind and solar, which are renewable, uh, which in quite contrast of the non-renewable sources like natural gas, coal, petroleum, and nuclear energy that the world is dependent on today. Um, so India has put in a goal for itself to reach the $5 trillion GDP mark by 2025. We are right now at $2.7 trillion. So doubling it in 5 years would necessitate growth in every sector, including the energy sector. So let's talk about the impact that adopting renewable resources would have on GDP. To do this, I would first define the various parts that various components of GDP, and then talk about the impact of adopting new energy would have on these the various components of the GDP. So GDP can be divided into five different components. That is consumption of the people that are in the country, that live and reside in the country. Two, the investments that are made in the country, both foreign and domestic. And the third is government expenditure. How much does the government contribute to the GDP? And the other components are imports and exports, of course. Um, so I'll begin with imports. So India is currently a large importer of petroleum and other crude oil, basically from countries in the Middle East. Um, so right now we are heavily dependent on these imports for our energy needs. So adopting renewable energies would compensate for the need for imports in terms of oil and petroleum, and it would increase it would it would reduce our imports in that sense. At the same time, it would also like if we reach the potential, we could also export our renewable energy to neighboring countries like Bhutan, Nepal, and Bangladesh, and Pakistan, of course, um, uh, which would impact our exports as well. So in that sense, our net exports could increase, which would impact the GDP. Talking about the potential for adopting renewable energies, I mean, there are a lot of wind farms and solar farms across India right now, and the renewable energy has been taken up as a game-changing initiative in various projects across the world. Um, and there are lots of wind farms and solar farms that are being built at a large scale right now south of the Vindhyas in the country. The next component I'm going to talk about is government expenditure. Government expenditure in the space of renewable energy would increase by improving the grid, extending it to rural areas where the actual production of renewable energy is taking place, and general the infrastructure build up that would make up the government expenditure, which directly affects the renewable energy space. Um, Moving on to investments, so India is a very prime country in terms of renewable energy resources, um, giving it owing to its geographical location. So as country opens up to more renewable energy, there'd be investors from both domestic and foreign who would come in and invest their money into solar and wind power projects, which is already happening. So this would impact the investment side of the GDP as well, and improve that component, and then further improving GDP. Moving on to consumption in the country, the consumption would increase in an indirect manner. Uh, the jobs that the renewable energy space would create in terms of both skilled, unskilled, and semi-skilled workers would increase the general per capita income of the in the country to some extent. And also, given that most of the renewable energy sources and the projects are in the rural areas, it would improve the per capita income in these areas, improving consumption. So this is the kind of impact renewable energies could have on the GDP. Apart from the economy itself, improving because the renewable energy projects are mostly in the rural areas and the jobs are created there, it would bring in the metropolitan culture, and along with it the access to financial, organizational, and social equipment for people in the rural areas. Thank you.